Joe Pugh for IFLTV, joined over Zoom this Friday morning, a little bit different, end of the week rather than start of the week, with Gareth Davies. Gareth, how have you been? We haven't caught up in about 8 days, which is probably a record for us at this point.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I've been doing BKB bare knuckle in Miami. Went to see AJ and Jake Paul, which was great fun. Unlike you, who's heading out to Misfits that December week, I will be in Miami for the showdown, the Golden Cock, the deluded optimist Jake Paul against the British behemoth of boxing, of heavyweight boxing, Anthony Joshua, who should have been fighting or would have been fighting in Riyadh last week. But instead has shifted focus to maybe destroying the career of Jake Paul as a boxer.
Are you definitely going to get accredited now, Gareth?
Don't start all that shenazzle with me right now this morning. Just trying to bring that up so Eddie Hearn bans me from being around AJ. AJ was absolutely brilliant with me last week, by the way. So, and props to him. He always is incredibly polite. I found him really stoked and quite thrilled to be involved in it. It's like his resurrection in the US, which is very interesting. Obviously, he's buying into the event. And I suppose, why shouldn't he when it should be a fairly easy night's work for him? And, you know, apparently he's getting 50 times more than he would have for fighting the guy whose name we cannot remember and no one really cares.
Cassius Chaney.
Cassius Chaney, exactly. In the top 100 of the world, fought Michael Hunter recently. Very defensive in that fight. And, well, we certainly know which one we'd have been watching. I mean, I still find it fairly implausible that he would have just turned up, rolled up on the Friday at the Ring 4 event and just got out of a taxi a la Chris Eubank Sr. to the kind of delight and consternation of everyone that he was just suddenly going to appear on the card under the 4 world title fights, or maybe between them. I don't know. Where do you think he'd have fallen on the card?
I think he'd have been after Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney, but before Benavidez and Yard. Sorry, Gareth, picking this up, mate.
Yes.
I'm assuming this hotel Wi-Fi is not the best, but we'll go with it. As I said, you cut out when I said that I think the fight would have fell between the co-main and the main if he hadn't fought in Riyadh last Saturday.
Do you know that on good authority from Eddie then?
No, that's a complete guess. Complete guess.
Okay.
But do you find it a little bit, not mad, but surprising that this is only AJ's second ever time fighting in the US?
Well, it was a catastrophic. It was a catastrophic moment for him when DAZN took him to Madison Square Garden in 2019 to face Andy Ruiz, and the rebuild's been over here, and every build's been over here, and also it's coincided in that time with the growth of heavyweight boxing over here. Obviously, Deontay Wilder had 3 fights with Tyson Fury in that kind of period from 2018 to 22. So there wasn't anyone for him to fight over there, and I don't know whether he got PTSD from fighting in America on that event, but his career's been over here. And this is where he's popular. I think there's every reason to suspect that part of his thinking on this, or if it didn't occur to him when he agreed to have the fight, is that there is a chance to resonate more in America for him. I found they treated him with great respect over there when we were there. I think the media really like him. And maybe he hasn't fulfilled, I'm not saying beating Jake Paul fulfills something massive for him over there, but it probably does helped to promote his cause over there. The fact he never fought Deontay Wilder, and in fact he probably would have fought Wilder here, is a big one. And I still think he should fight Deontay Wilder, in my view.
Are you still of the opinion that this could damage AJ's legacy?
Yeah, if it goes wrong in any way, shape or form, of course it could. You know, I think if Jake Paul manages to go 8 rounds with him, and there are theories that he may just take the rounds, I don't think it does him any good. If something catastrophic happens again, then of course it damages his legacy. I mean, I don't give Jake Paul much chance. Maybe you give him a 1% chance. Maybe not even that, but who knows what could happen? Weird things happen in boxing. I don't think for any instant that Jake Paul is Anthony Joshua. That's why it's such a peculiar fight. There are leagues between them, and of course Anthony is one of the most dangerous kind of knockout artists in the world, one of the most powerful punchers in the world. You only have to look back to see what he did to Francis Ngannou. I don't see how Jake Paul beats him. I don't see how Jake Paul damages him, other than a freak incident in the fight. But we shall see, and I think he's got to get him out of there quicker than or as quick almost as he got rid of Francis Ngannou, even though they're two different kind of fighters who'll fight in different styles, I'm sure.
Do you still think this could be an element of danger going into this fight for Jake Paul?
Of course there is. He could get horribly hurt against Anthony Joshua, and that was one of my reasons for critiquing the fight in the first place, that it's a horrible mismatch. Or at least on paper it's a horrible mismatch, which Robert Smith, the Boxing Board of Control General Secretary, alluded to when I spoke to him that last week or the week before, that it just wouldn't be sanctioned in the UK, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
What's the best outcome for AJ here? You talk about damaging legacies, you talk about what can't happen for him, but in your opinion, is it just go in there, get him out as fast as possible and move on?
Yes, ramrod jab, big right hand, body, hopefully the body rather than the head, busts him up. Jake Paul goes down, referee doesn't want to see anymore, and it's done within 2 or 3 rounds. But if he goes out there and he just kind of has a sparring session for 8 rounds, I don't think it does him any good. I think he's got to get him out of there. That's what people want to see. Are you gonna watch it?
Of course.
Do you want to watch it?
I don't know if that's a loaded question, Gareth. Would I rather...
Well, you're putting pressure on me and Eddie Hearn. How about you answering some questions once in the firing line, Joe Pugh?
Would I rather watch AJ versus Deontay Wilder? Yes. But would I rather watch AJ versus Cassius Chaney? No.
Would you rather watch AJ versus Jake Paul or Tate versus Chase Damore?
You've always got to go AJ.
Well, there you go. So what are you doing in Dubai on the 19th or 20th rather than in Miami?
We've got someone there, Gareth. We've got a big team. We've got to spread our members wisely.
Who picked the long straw then to get Miami?
No one picked it. We don't pick straws, Gareth. There's a bit more strategic planning that goes into this.
If you were given the choice, where would you be?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I don't know.
Don't be an AJ hater here.
I'm never an AJ hater.
Otherwise, you'll be banned from all his
fans.
future events. Otherwise, you'll be banned from all his future events. And I'm going to speak to Eddie Hearn and send this clip personally to him.
Okay.
After you guys set me up for a second time. You set
when
me up
was
with
the
Big
first
John
time?
Fisher. Big John Fisher. I got ambushed by you and Kugan Cassius. And for a whole year, the Fishers didn't speak to me and they harangued me on social media until I ran into them in Vegas, and they were really pleasant, if I'm honest. And now you're trying to trying to push the cause that Eddie should ban me from all AJ's events, when in fact, you know, you would rather see Andrew Tate against Chase Tamor than watch AJ in action.
No, I'd obviously rather watch AJ in action. Come on.
Right, see, look at you coming round. So you should be there then.
The thing is, Gareth, right, we actually diffused the situation. We didn't heighten the situation with you and Eddie, because Eddie earlier on that day was fuming with you. And we made it light-hearted. So you should be thanking us. You should be paying homage to IFLTV.
Okay, well, I pay homage to you, IFLTV, your big team, your planning, your lack of ambushing me in recent months, and your smoothing out of my relationship with Eddie Hearn, and the fact I'm now allowed to cover AJ's career. Thank you very much, IFLTV.
You're welcome.
Happy now?
You're welcome. Let's move on from AJ, Jake Paul. Have a little recap of the last weekend. Ring 4. What a card it was. We'll talk about the main 4 fights, starting with Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason. Wasn't to be for Sam Noakes, but what a performance he put on.
Yeah, and I think given how highly Abdullah Mason's regarded going into that, whatever he was, 18, 19-0, highly touted, a rising star in America, if you can call him a rising star, even though he's a world champ. I thought it was a fine performance by Sam, very valiant. You know, he had to deal with that cut from early on, 3rd round.
Yeah.
And it was a tough assignment, but I thought he came out with flying colours. I thought it was a fine performance. I thought he lost it by a couple of rounds. And I was happy to see his body language afterwards, his demeanour, that he was satisfied with himself, even though, as he looks back on it, I think it will, put it this way, I think it will give him succour for the future. He'll know that he can be a world champion now. That's the key in this. And it was very tenacious. He delivered everything he always purports to be able to do. And I think, like I say, there's no question that his stock rose from it, and people are singing his praises today, and he deserves it.
Then go on to Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who beat Puma, once again reaffirming his claim to be in the pound-for-pound top 5, Gareth.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe number 4. Maybe he moves up to number 4. Saw the opening in the door. It was a beautiful left hand, I think, wasn't it? And please, I mean, there's even been some fantastic little slow-mo videos of him grinning that he can see the opening. He's a brilliant fighter. I mean, and there's so much to come yet. And my assessment is, you know, for his greater growth and access to the mainstream, as opposed to just the boxing. You know, everyone is a boxing fanboy, fangirl, knows Bam Rodriguez. You know, choir boy looks quiet guy, does his business, brilliantly talented. The fight I want to see him in is with Naoya Inoue. I think it's a super fight. I think it's one of boxing's biggest super fights. So if that Junto Nakatani fight works for Naoya Inoue, I'd love to see Turki Al-Sheikh put those two guys together at some point, because I think it's a brilliant super fight. On that point, I just want to highlight this. It's come to my attention this morning that there's been speculation in the last couple of days that there's an alleged slowdown of spending on boxing events from Turki Al-Sheikh. And I've seen a tweet from him today saying that, in Ring Magazine, saying the report is 100% not true, and made it clear that many surprises will be announced in 2026. Looking forward to that, and I think that should be one of them.
I certainly agree.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah,
and seen that?
I read that this morning.
Push back on that. Yeah.
Which is exciting for us boxing fans to hear. Just next on that card was Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. Devin Haney put on really a boxing masterclass. Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn slated it for being boring, with Conor Benn pretending to be asleep ringside. What did you think of the performance, Gareth?
Well, I thought the performance was hamming it up as he slapped on Eddie Hearn's shoulder, pretending to snore. But obviously, Conor Benn's there trying to sell the narrative that he wants to fight with Devin Haney, which I like. Conor, apart from wanting to win a world title, has crossed over to being, a big box office name. There's no question about that. And fights with Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teo Lopez, et al. Are great for him. I like all those fights. I think he comes along and, he enlivens contests against them. Does he beat them? Probably not. He and Ryan Garcia will be a shootout. Even Shakur Stevenson, I think Eddie's revealed those guys are DMing each other, talking about having a fight. I think Shakur's quite a lot smaller than Conor now, but I'd like to see all 4 or 5 of those fights. What did I make of Devin Haney? Well, I thought he exposed the weaknesses in Brian Norman, obviously put him down early. People don't like Devin Haney because he doesn't engage in toe-to-toe battles. He doesn't like being hit, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. He's very skilled. He belongs in the top 10 pound for pound right now. I thought Norman was going to give him a really hard fight. For me, I thought, like you say, he filleted him. He confused Norman. But he fought how he fought, which is against a big, powerful puncher. You don't want to be putting yourself in harm's way. So I thought it was a very fine performance. Obviously, the goading is going to come from Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn because they want to get him in a ring. But I think, as you've seen with the Haneys, they want more out of Conor Benn before they step in the ring with him. But I think they're foolish not to fight him because I think it's a big fight over here. It makes sense to do it over here. And all it will do is increase Devin Haney's revenue with British fans and accolades with them, because I think he outboxes Conor Benn. He might have a couple of sticky moments. But I thought he really proved himself on Saturday night again, that he's clearly back.
Then the main event, Benavidez.
Let me ask you a question. What's a bigger fight for him right now? The rematch with Ryan Garcia or a fight with Conor Benn over here?
Globally, I don't know, because globally probably the rematch, but certainly from our standpoint, it's absolutely massive, the Conor Benn fight. And selfishly, as a British fight fan, I'd want the Conor Benn fight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But the bigger money fight is probably Ryan Garcia because of that controversy and the annulling of the contest the first time. Because people want to see whether Ryan's going to knock him down again.
But the fight I
think he beats Ryan in the rematch.
The fight I want is Ryan and Conor.
Me too. I want all of them.
So do I. But we are incredibly greedy in sport, Gareth, when it comes to the fights we want, and so we should be. Main event, David Benavidez. Another masterclass, really, against Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde come up short 3 times now. You get the feeling that might have been his last chance. Again, what did you make of the performance?
Well, at 34, he's still got an opportunity to fight for a world title, but he's got to build himself back. All 3 fights have been against formidable light heavyweight champions. So, Sergei Kovalev still had a lot left at the time, and Anthony was a fairly inexperienced fighter. It was great matchmaking by Frank Warren, and had he gone for it a bit more, that he might have come out with victory in Tractor Town in Russia. Artur Beterbiev met at his peak in a brilliant fight. Yeah, I'm sure you were there. I can't remember if you were, but I'm sure you were. It was a brilliant night there in Wembley, at Wembley. This was a disappointing performance. I thought the tactics were wrong. He never got started. The game plan looked wrong. And he never really gained the respect of Benavidez, who, once he's on top of you, isn't going to let go. He wants his foot on your neck, puts his foot on your neck, and he goes for it. it was very one-sided to watch, and you were waiting for Anthony to really break out in the fight. Had a couple of decent rounds, but yeah, it was could even have been stopped a little earlier by the corner. I thought it was disappointing. I'm not disappointed in him, I'm disappointed for him. But I did think Benavidez would stop him late in the fight, because Anthony likes to fight. So, and also there's a little bit of disappointment in me that that Benavidez wants to step up and fight Zurdo Ramirez, the Golden Southpaw, at cruiserweight, rather than look for the winner of Callum Smith and David Morrell, or even Artur Beterbiev or Dimitri Bivol next. So I get it, stepping up, but once he stepped up, is he going to come back down again? Maybe, but because I'm disappointed for Jaya Pataya that he's not fighting Zurdo Ramirez next. Obviously, he's got a fight lined up. After the fight that he's lined up to do.
Yeah, I spoke to David Benavidez straight after the fight, and I get the sense that he wants either Beterbiev or Bivol, but he's been told that that's not an option for next. So he would go up and fight Zurdo and then come back down. But the size of David Benavidez, he might struggle to come back down.
But the bigger fights for him are, if he wants to fight Jaya Pataya, great. If he beats Zurdo, great. And I think he's capable of beating Zurdo. If you recall, has come up from super middleweight anyway. I remember him winning that world title at super middle years ago. I think I was there in Vegas for it. Or certainly one of his defences. I certainly remember him winning the title. Come on, again, I've got to ask you about this, because your question's loaded. The key is for him, again, you talk about Conor Benn and the fights he could have, big names. Beterbiev, Bivol, Callum Smith. There's 3 incredible fights there for Benavidez at 175. And he's a naturally decent-sized 175 light heavyweight fighter who carries power. So, how does he fare against Jaya Pataya? It's a brilliant matchup, but how does he fare? He gets beaten, in my view.
I don't know. It depends. We need to see him at cruiserweight first.
On the Joe Pugh show this morning, right? IFL's Joe Pugh show. I want to pick from you. Who wins, Benavidez or Opataya at cruiser?
Right now, you have to say Opataya.
There you go.
But
so we're looking at the same chalkboard.
I understand why they want to do the Zurdo fight, because that's going to be supposedly on Cinco de Mayo weekend, 2 Mexicans, and it's huge. So I understand that. And then if David Benavidez wins that fight, becomes a free-weight world champion, comes back down to 175 pounds, he wants to do what Terence Crawford is doing when holding lots of belts in different weight divisions. So I do get that. But can we stop asking me questions now, please, Gareth? Because I'm not the one being interviewed here. People don't want to see my opinions.
Well, I'm asking you questions. I'm just firing back at you. I'm in a questioning mood this morning, that's all.
Okay. Right, before I let you go...
I'm giving my opinions as well. I think Opataya beats Benavidez handily at cruiser.
Before I let you go, I'm just going to look ahead to tomorrow night, starting off with the BBC's return to boxing for the first time in 20 years. First of all, how good is it for British boxing that we're now getting boxing back on the national television provider?
Well, it's great because it's the biggest platform in the UK in terms of a linear broadcaster. It's great that they've dipped their toes back in the water. I see that Adam Azim has announced as fighting on January the 31st, I think it is, which is great. Second event. It's a great opportunity for the boxers to be resonant with the British public, which is always a good thing. I remember speaking to Adam Azim in the week of Ben Eubank too about, going on Traitors or going on Strictly Come Dancing. There's a greater crossover for the guys in it's BBC Two. It's 8 p.m. The early cards on BBC iPlayer. I think it's fantastic that they're back in business. The BBC, obviously, for a long time, and it's not like they haven't shown amateur boxing, because I think they've shown that as well in the Olympics and all those things, Commonwealth Games, but. I think it's fantastic that they're back in the professional scene. I think there were times in history when they've eyed pro boxing with its sponsorship and kind of promotional shenanigans at times, and I think they've had a suspicious eye on promoters. But I think it's back. The fact it's back is a great thing. I think it's a great thing for people like Fran Hennessy, who's on the card. It's great to have the British heavyweight title on there. And preempting your next question rather than asking you one, I hope the heavyweight title delivers. British heavyweight title delivers. I like to see Jamie TKV this week kind of slightly wound up. So I hope he fights like that. Hope he comes take Fraser Clark's head off. But in the sense that we get a great battle. I don't obviously want him to take Fraser's head off, but I just hope he comes and I hope they don't nullify each other, and I hope it's an exciting fight. I have Fraser as the favourite in it. I think he wins on points. I think they may nullify each other, but I think it's great to see.
If you're a hardcore boxing fan, what fight night are you watching? Are you watching the British heavyweight title fight, or are you watching Ben Whitaker's Matchroom debut?
Is Ben Whitaker fighting tomorrow night as well then? Listen, I think you've got to have an eye on both, because Ben Gavazi, the German, 30-year-old German who Ben's fighting on his Matchroom debut, will have been picked for a reason. Likes to come forward and fight. 13 knockouts from his 19 wins. I don't think he's lost since... I was looking at his record yesterday. I don't think he's lost since his very first fight. It was a points defeat way back when in November 2018. Look, he's not fought outside Germany. He's been picked for a reason. I'm not saying he's got a padded record, but I don't expect him to give Ben Whitaker a lot of problems. I think we'll see lots of showboating from him. It's his debut on Matchroom. I'm sure Eddie Hearn's going to get in the ring and do the salsa with him afterwards and have a little dance around. I'm sure there's some skit organised. I think he stops Gavazi in the middle rounds. He's going to step in on his power, show us the pirouetting style, his showboating, all that kind of stuff, the razzmatazz. And Eddie will... send him to the gods saying that here's our new star. And he has got the potential to be a massive star. Obviously, if he hadn't signed with Eddie, he'd probably on the BBC tomorrow night. So it's fascinating. It's a clash of events, but, we're in the day and age where you can pause your channel and you can watch both fights. So... I probably will keep an eye on both. I'll just have two laptops on.
Last one. Bet on Ben Whitaker. Plan me the perfect 3 fights for Ben Whitaker for 2026.
I'd say Dan Aziz would be in there. I'd say... I'd like an Ezra Taylor in there at some point. He really wants to fight him. And trying to think one other. Louis Edmondson, maybe?
I like that. British champion right now.
Yeah, maybe those. Well, I think they should do that with Ben anyway. I think he should go the traditional route. Lyndon Arthur is another one I'd like to see him in with. That's a stiff test for him. So how many is that? Is that 4?
That's 4. So you're giving me one extra. He's going to be a busy boy in 2026.
If he fought all those and beat them, then he's on his way, isn't he? You know, he's not ready for the top of the tree yet. But look at the strength of that light heavyweight division we've talked about. Callum Simpson stepping up to light heavy to fight him. That's a fight I'd like to see. It's a talent-rich division, both globally and in Britain. You know, Craig Richards is round about. I think Craig might be having his last fight, isn't he?
Craig's fighting Dan Aziz in Ghana.
But isn't it, has he said that's his last fight or not? I may have imagined
not
that.
As far as I know. I haven't heard it.
Okay, well, Craig Richards, if he beats Dan Aziz, it's a really rich division, isn't it? Really rich. And hopefully, if Ben progresses quickly enough, he can have those fights with the likes of Callum Smith towards the tail end of their career. I think Ben is 2 years away from being ready for those fights, really, from being ready for world level if he progresses in the right way.
Excellent, Gareth. Thank you very much for speaking to IFLTV. We shall catch up early next week and talk.
Final question.
Go on.
Who's the best promoter in boxing right now?
Sorry, the connection's cutting out, so I'll see you
You want
later.
to say Eddie Hearn, don't you? Because you're an Eddie Hearn fanboy.
I'm not an Eddie Hearn fanboy. That is the maddest statement I think you've ever put out, Gareth, and you put out some mad statements.
I love teasing you, Joe.
Do you just want to look really angry for the thumbnail here, Gareth? Yeah, that's the one, mate. That's the one. You wait till you see the title. Sticks it on reporter. Gareth A. Davies sticks it on reporter.
Always great to see you, Joe. Where are you tomorrow night?
I am in Birmingham for the Ben Whitaker fight.
Of course you are.
You knew that. Loaded question.
There we go. All right, have a good one.
Have a good one, mate. See you soon.
Always a pleasure. Cheers, my friend.